Hello, welcome to episode 84 of Knits and Stuff. My name is Alicia, and today we'll be talking about finished objects, works in progress, and pretty things. But first, welcome to those of you that are new, and for those of you that are returning, thanks for coming back. Sorry, it's been a little while since I've had time to sit down and podcast, but I have a ton of stuff to show. So everything I talk about today will be in the show notes, which are at knitsandstuffpodcast.com, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can find them in the description down below. So let's get started. Today it looks like I have a little spooky lighting going on. It's Halloween, so happy Halloween if you're watching this in the past, I guess, because I don't know whether I'm gonna get this edited and posted today, but it might go up sometime near Halloween. So anyway, let's get started with finished objects. Okay, first on the list of finished objects is my Gambit Ghost, which is a knitted plush ghost from the game that called Destiny that I play. This is the second one that I've made. So if you've seen the podcast before, I might have explained that the ghost is a character / AI in a video game, and it looks kind of like this. So this is out of some extra stash yarn. It's Malabrigo worsted in the colorways Va, which is the dark green, and Pearl 10, which is that gray, I think, and then the Pearl is the white. And this I knit on US 5's 3.75 millimeter needles and stuffed it with a little bit of polyfill. For this one and the other one that I've made, I don't know if I'm going to add a little felt eyes, I guess. There's like a little lit up area in the ghost in the game where it's like eye / face is, so I might sew on a little bit of probably felt, or this one's kind of small, so I might embroider it on, but basically it's done. So that's my first finished object. So next on the list of finished objects is a cowl. It is the Arctic Cowl by Carrie Bostock Hoge. It's out of St. Magnus DK in the colorway Sage, which is a 50/50 Angora wool blend. It's a little sheddy, but it's super soft. And this cowl hasn't been washed and blocked yet. It is just finished knitting. And I knit this on US 5's 3.75 millimeter needles. The pattern is from an issue of Making magazine. And I think it's one of the first, or it is the first pattern that I've made from them. So it was a pretty good pattern. It didn't have a chart in the magazine, which I think is pretty typical for print magazines where space is limited. So I made a chart on Stitch Fiddle just to keep track of visually of the pattern, and that made it a lot easier for me rather than reading where the knit two togethers and increases and decreases were, I guess. So yeah, this I think will be a gift, but it does need to be washed and blocked, and it looks like it's very bright on camera right now, but yeah, it's a nice little light blue cowl. So that's done. And then we have a headband that I finished knitting. This is the Simone by Emily Lewis. It is out of Stranded Dye Works BFL nylon fingering, held together with the Stranded Dye Works mohair silk in the patisserie colorway. I actually ran out of the nylon fingering, BFL nylon fingering yarn when I got towards the end. So I replaced it with some Hey Sister Yarn Company Allenzy sock in the colorway Gilded, which is pretty similar to the patisserie fingering weight yarn in color. And I think you can't really tell too much where the join is, and I think it's probably somewhere in the knot right now, but the two ends don't look too different, so I think the mohair also kind of dominates the color when you knit the two strands together, so yeah, it worked out. And this is actually leftover yarn from the bed socks that I knit, also with the two yarns held together, and they were really cozy, and now I've made a matching cozy headband. And I knit this on US 6's 4.0mm needles, which I think is what was called for in the pattern. I should show the back because it has this nice cabling, which, yeah, you can kind of see. So this will be nice as the weather gets cooler to wear and keep my ears warm, I guess. So yeah, finished object number 3. Next finished object is a baby vertebrae. This is the third one that I've made. This is out of Miss Babs Yowza in the Zombie Prom colorway. This is a baby vertebrae by Kelly Van Neerkerk. It's out of I knit it on US 5's 3.75mm needles and US 7's 4.5mm needles. And I think this is the second smallest size. So it's nice and ready for one of my friends who just had a baby girl. So I will be gifting this to them along with some teeny tiny baby mitts. They're so small. These are teeny tiny mitts. Oh, I did say that right. These are teeny tiny knit mitts by We Knit Together. This is also out of the same yarn and knit on US 4 3.5mm needles and US 6 4.0mm needles. And I just knit the two mitts. There was an option to have an I-cord joining the two, but I think it's probably better just to leave them separate because I don't want to get the I-cord tangled up. But yeah, they are these adorable little mittens, and they're so cute, and they were very quick and easy to knit, so good for gifting. So that will get packed up and sent over shortly, soon, hopefully. And next, we have some crocheting, which I have not done in a very long time, and now I've done a lot of it recently. To give a little backstory, so my fiance and I, we've been engaged for a little while now, if you've been watching the podcast for a while, and we finally have a date for the wedding, and I wanted to add some like handmade wedding favors to, incorporate my love for knitting and crochet, I guess, and fiber. So my idea was to make little coasters, crochet coasters that people can take with them and also use during the reception. And then maybe also make little centerpiece doilies to go underneath the centerpieces, which we haven't really decided much further than that. So but that's my idea right now. And so I was experimenting with different patterns and different yarns, and I think I finally settled on what I want to do, but there's a lot of finished objects in the meantime that are related to my experimenting. So we'll start from the beginning. First, we have some citrus coasters. These are citrus coasters by Donna Knits. This is out of a wool cotton blend that I've had in my stash for a while now. It's DMC Senso wool cotton in the gray green colorway. I think this yarn is actually discontinued, but I had 2 different colors, and this is one of them. This pattern is crocheted on a USC size hook, or 2.75mm hook. I was able to make 5 of them with just a little bit left over in the ball. But yeah, these are, I think, a little bit too dark to match the color scheme, I guess, of our wedding. Maybe, not decided yet. It's still still about a year out. So, but I did want to just use up that ball. And so I just made a bunch. So maybe we'll use these around the house, or maybe they'll end up being a gift. Or we'll have them be part of the wedding favors. We'll see. So, but this is the pattern I ended up going with. But I also crocheted some other coasters in the meantime. But this is the first one. So the next pattern I tried was the Farmhouse style coasters by Michelle at the Painted Hinge. I almost said house. And I made these ones out of some leftover Noro Curion Solo in colorway 1. This was the yarn that I used for the antler hat. And I had a little bit left over, and I kind of really like how these look. I think they're really cute. But I did not have enough yarn to continue making them, and I wasn't sure what yarn I would want to use to make like 100 of them. So that's, I think, part of the reason why I went with the other pattern. But these went by a little bit faster because they're on a 5mm hook, or a USH size. And I also kind of made them out of some Rowan All Seasons cotton. And the colorways are organic, jaunty, and lime drop. I think organic is the white, and the red is jaunty, and lime drop is the green. And then I had started to make another one, but I ran out, so I just kind of finished it the way it was. And as you can see, a lot of these don't have ends woven in because I just kind of spit them out as fast as I could. So those are the Farmhouse style coasters. And then the next pattern I tried is the square shell coaster. This is by Uno Punto a la Vez. It's out of DMC Senso wool cotton in antique violet. So this is the other color I have. It's really pretty, actually. The color is really nice, especially on the camera. I'm really liking how this is showing up. But it's a little less defined in person, partly I think because it's a wool blend. And then I didn't want to choose this one because it took a little longer to make, and I think it would be a little bit more cumbersome to try and crochet a bunch of these for the wedding instead of an easier or simpler pattern. And then I think I also like the look of the circular coasters better, but this is quite nice to use just by itself. And this one was on a D size hook, 3.25mm. So yeah, that's quite nice. And I've been using this just at my desk, so it's mine now. And then next we have some citrus inspired coasters. So I thought about making the citrus coasters but in a larger yarn or heavier weight yarn, so it would be faster to make. And I picked up some Lily Sugar and Cream solids in the Sonoma print. I thought these were quite nice and maybe would fit with our color scheme, which may or may not be some greens and pinks, maybe a mint green and a sage green and like a blush pink and I don't know, something like that. And this one was actually crocheted on a 3.0mm hook, which was really hard on my hands because it's 100% cotton for one, and it was really tight, and I think the recommended hook is like a H or something, like a 4 or 5.0mm hook. So, and then I realized, because I had actually meant to crochet it on a larger hook, but I had chosen the wrong one. I didn't notice that I chose the wrong size. So once I realized that, I was able to make larger ones. So I just kind of tried to figure out the circle pattern on my own. but I think I ended up alternating the single crochet, double crochet rows, and then I did like a half double crochet for the open part here around instead of a double crochet because it would have been fairly large. And then at first, so for like this one, at first I did the border stitching without a single crochet row, and then it looked kind of messy for most of the ones that I tried doing that with. So I ended up doing the single crochet row before the border row. And I felt like these were a little bit too large, but I still kind of like how they look. So I think I might end up still using them, but I ended up going back to a fingering weight yarn. And that's what all of these are. So these are a fingering weight yarn from Hobby, which is a yarn company and vendor in Denmark. I want to say, which I just forgot. I think so. Yeah, in Denmark. And so this is 100% cotton, but it's a softer cotton, and it's fingering weight. I ended up using a bigger hook. Instead of the 2.75 millimeter, I used a 3.0. So I ended up buying some Addy crochet hooks because my current crochet hook collection is basically just like Susan Bates aluminum ones, which aren't that long, and they're also thin. I guess they don't have any sort of handle at the base. So I picked up these ones from Addy, and yeah, they feel a lot better in my hand, and I figured if I was going to be making a lot of these, I want something that's comfortable and ergonomic. So these are nice because they're longer, and I was worried that that I might need one that has a bigger handle, or that's like shaped, but actually I think just having them be longer in my hand so that it's resting past my palm here makes it so that it's more comfortable, because otherwise the hooks that are like this long, I end up, I don't know, my grip is kind of weird, I guess, with it. Anyway, so these were new purchase, and I like them so far, so no complaints. So that's my coaster adventure. I'm sure I'll be making more of these. I probably won't show them on the podcast anymore because they're going to be all the same, just in the different colors. And then these are just the colors that I picked out. There's a kind of blush pink, a sage green, and then what looks to be a really bright gray, but it's not that bright. And I think I have a couple other grays that I chose, but hoping to just go with these three colors and just make a whole bunch of them. So those are the coasters. Next I have a doily, I guess, that I made. This is the Moonpetals pattern by Julia Hart. I used the J&P Coats Royal Classic Crochet thread in size 10 in the colorway Natural. And this, I also used a size C hook, or a 2.75 millimeter hook. And this was also some leftover or some old stash thread that I had. I just used whatever I had left, which was enough to do the first 16 rounds of the pattern, and then I ran out. But I do actually kind of like the border on this, so I'm not sure if this is the pattern I'm going to use yet for the centerpiece. It might be, if it's big enough, and then I might keep it just to this round because it's kind of nice to have it round. So hopefully this is big enough. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm worried that it's not going to be big enough, but we'll see. So yeah, it was fun to crochet a bunch of things. I haven't crocheted in a long time, and now I'm like, oh, I want to crochet everything. So yeah, so I'm still not done with finished objects. Apparently this is going to be a really long episode. but I have some spinning that I finished. So I have a couple finished spinning, and this is huge. This is the 3 Feet of Sheep by Frabjous Fiber. I had been spinning this for a while now. It was a gradient set, so they were little bumps of fiber in different colors, and I spun it in along the gradient. I did a single ply of everything. I think I had to split it between 2 bobbins, and then I chain plied the whole thing so that it would keep that gradient color. And I think, I can't remember if I actually showed this last time, now that I'm talking about it. I might have shown it before it was washed, or before it was plied, or maybe when it was already done. I don't know. We can talk about it again, though. So this was just 100% merino wool, and spun on my ladybug wheel, and also plied up on the ladybug wheel. I had to use the big jumbo plier to fit all of it onto one bobbin. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think, oh, you know what? I finished this in July, so I probably didn't talk about it on the last podcast. Or at least not the finished part. But anyway, so I think I got almost 400 yards, maybe closer to 375 with if it shrunk up a little bit when I washed it. And it's probably a heavier worsted weight yarn. And yeah, if you have any ideas on what I should make out of this, I don't know. I want to be able to use all of it in one project because it's a really long gradient. So I was thinking maybe I should make like a blanket, or maybe like a big shawl. When I say blanket, I mean like a baby blanket, but it's not superwash wool, so I don't know that I actually want to do that. But maybe some sort of shawl. I don't know. Something. It is on the, well, it's worsted, but I was going to say it's on the bulkier side. So it would be a pretty thick shawl. But anyway, let me know if you have any ideas. But that's some new spinning. So next I have some Kaleidoscope Microbatts that I spun up actually on my e-spinner. It's the Electric Eel Nano. And this is from Unwind Yarn Company. It was a set of Kaleidoscope Microbatts, which I already said. It was set number 8. And it was about 3 ounces of yarn and 3 different mini bats. So this is a 3-ply. I spun each bat up separately and then plied them together. I'll see if I can put some pictures in here of what the bats looked like before, and maybe the single plies. I think I have a picture of them on the bobbins. But one of them was very brown, and I kind of don't like that much brown in here. But maybe it will knit up differently. I'm not sure what I'm going to make out of this yet. I also didn't put down what weight this ended up being. I don't think I measured it yet. But it might be like a DK, maybe. I haven't washed this yet, so it might fluff up a little bit. But yeah, this was some spinning that I also finished. Did I say I applied it on the ladybug? I did, maybe. I don't know. But spun up the singles on the electric wheel, and then plied up the singles into a 3-ply on the ladybug so that I could fit all 3 ounces on there. More spinning. I haven't taken this off the bobbin yet. This is some yarn, obviously. This is a 2-ply yarn from a Minibat set by Hobbledehoy Yarn and Fiber. It was a basically 2 colorways, I guess you call bats colorways, of mini bats. One was this kind of more of this blue that you see here, kind of like cloud color, so it's like white and blue, and then the other set of bats were rainbow colored, so I called it my Rainbow Dash yarn, because it reminds me so much of Rainbow Dash because of the blue and then the rainbow. So I spun up the rainbow bats in one ply, and then I spun up all the cloud colored bats in another ply, and then I plied them together. And I can probably show a picture of what it looked like unplied, or what the singles look like, but yeah, I also spun the singles up on the electric eel wheel nano, and then I applied it up on the ladybug, and this is on an Acreworks bobbin. And yeah, so I need to take this off at some point and give it a good wash, but I think this might be close to a fingering weight yarn, maybe a sport weight. So I'm not sure how many yards I got out of this either, but it's 2 ounces of fiber, so not too much, but maybe enough for like a hat or some sort of small accessory. But yeah, I liked this one a lot. It's really cute. So that's more spinning. So that's all the finished objects I have. That would bring us to works in progress, finally. So I'm gonna have a lot here too, I think. So let's get right into it. First thing I have is a pair of socks. I think I've made a little bit of progress on these since the last time. I've shown them on the podcast. They are in the middle of a row, but that's fine. These are the Waiting for Henry socks by Tabitha Gandy. It's out of Hey Sister Yarn Company Geronimo sock in the Noir colorway kit. It's kit 5. It matches my sweater quite well. And it's basically, the kit is a skein of the main color and then mini skeins of the contrasting. Right now I only have the one color contrasting, but it is a colorwork sock, so at the on the leg there's a colorwork pattern with 2 contrasting colors, so I will get to that eventually. But I have knit the heel. I used a fish lips kiss heel. I think the pattern calls for an afterthought, but it's easy to kind of sub in whatever heel you want to use. And I'm knitting them on US 1's 2.25 millimeter needles, the Addy Flexi Flips. And I think that's what they're called. It's been a long time since I've said it, so. Oh, and the pattern also calls for, or the instructions are for a top-down sock, but you can also easily adapt it to toe-up, which is what I did. So, yeah, it's this nice kind of ribbed pattern, and then there will be color work soon. And this is living in a Silver Shed project bag, my sheep bag, and that's it. Another work in progress is another set of socks. These are the Keep Going socks by Chase Clark. I'm knitting it out of Knitty & Color Acoustic Sock in the Color Reef Light colorway. And these are also on US 1's 2.25 millimeters. I think I might have started this on the Flexi Flips and then changed to what may be Hayas. Maybe. And I am using some, I think, Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply toes is the contrasting heel. This is some yarn that I used for some baby knit, so I have enough to probably make the foot and a shorter heel, but with contrasting, shorter leg, but with contrasting heels and ribbing, I think. And then that should be enough. I should have enough yarn to make 2 socks, hopefully. So yeah, I like how these are going. This is a free pattern, and I did skip the kind of bottom part of the pattern for around the toe. I probably could have skipped more until I was done with the increases, but it's fine either way. But yeah, it's just this nice like pearl textured pattern that I think goes pretty well with like a lightly variegated yarn. So yeah, that's that. And this is living in a chicken boots bag. So next is the Hemlock Ring blanket. I think I've shown this before on the podcast. This is the Hemlock Ring translated maybe or put into pattern by Jared Flood. It's basically a doily pattern that was upsized into a blanket if you do choose to knit it out of a larger yarn. A needle, so this is on US 10 6.0 millimeter needles, and the yarn is Cascade Eco Wool in the color Mocha. I've had this yarn for quite a while and bought way too much of it when I knit a sweater for my dad for Christmas one year, and I had started with one pattern and it was holding the yarn together in this ribbed sweater, and it was going to be way too thick and way too warm, and I ran out of yarn for that pattern, so I bought more yarn and then completely frogged it and knit another pattern which used way less yarn, and so now I have enough yarn to knit a blanket out of it. So that was back when I was more of a beginner knitter, but yeah, now I have enough to make a nice blanket, but it's getting bigger, and the row count, or the stitch count in the rows are getting more and more, so it's taking longer to get around, but yeah, it's just slowly coming along. And then that is living in this giant needle runs through it project bag, which is really nice. It's got this like padded lining, and a cute little wooden label on it. So anyway, and a little handle. But yeah, this is a very cute soft bag that I think I got at Stitches West one year. Another similar style pattern, which has you knit starting at the center and knit outwards, is the Evenstar Shawl. This I am knitting out of Pigeon Roost Studios Rustic Silk Lace. I think I got this when it was discontinued, making the lighting all weird. And I'm knitting it on US 3.25 millimeter needles. These are signature needles with, I think they call them interchangeable, because you can change out the cords, but the cord is specific to the size of the needle, so you can only use like the 3 millimeter, not 3 mil, US 3 size needle with the US 3 size cord. Anyway, so yeah, I am slowly making progress. It is a lace pattern, and if I can finish it in time, I might use it as a wedding shawl. We'll see. Yeah, it takes a lot more concentration, knitting the lace and making sure that I am following the chart closely enough, because there is also some shifting in the chart to make it line up with the beginning of the rows. So that does make it a little bit more complicated, but so far I don't think I've made mistakes, or at least none that are very obvious, or ones that I didn't, fix with a yarn over maybe. I don't know. And then I do have a lifeline in here with floss, just in case I need to rip back. And I think I will put another lifeline in when I finish this next section of lace. So that way I can have that lifeline, really. So, and if you're not familiar with lifelines, it's just any yarn or thread that you can put through all the stitches in a row, and that way, if you do mess up, you can rip back to that row and then start again, pick up the stitches on the needles and start again, because with lace it's really hard to just pick it up from the knitted work, because of all the yarn overs and knit two togethers. So yeah, it's really crucial to have that lifeline so you know exactly which stitches you need to put on your needles. So yeah, so that's the Evenstar. This is not living in a bag, but in a yarn bowl. It's a cute little yarn bowl that I got as a gift one year. And it's a little bat, which goes with the Halloween theme, so yeah. So next up is the Tecumseh by Caitlin Hunter. This is a colorwork sweater, and I'm knitting it out of some stranded dyeworks yarn and some treehouse knit yarn. And I think I might have mentioned on the podcast before that I was trying to find the right yarn to knit this sweater, and I had some Madeline Tosh yarn, but it was so variegated in color that I couldn't really find a good contrasting yarn for it. So then I ended up buying a sweater's worth of patisserie, the patisserie colorway by Stranded Dyeworks in Merino DK, and but I was still looking for the contrasting color. I thought I already had it, but apparently I did not. But I did have a Kingfisher blue in, I guess I can hold this up, so spoilers. But so I did have this Kingfisher blue that I bought one skein of in a previous update, and then later on I bought this patisserie for the main color. And then I didn't have a second color for the, I guess you could call the lace pattern. So I ended up getting 2 skeins of Merino DK from Treehouse Knits in this colorway called Cocoa Shawl. It was part of the Cocoa collection. So yeah, it's this really nice, like, rusty orange color that I wouldn't normally pick out, but I think it's like kind of pink enough in a way that it's not too orange, because normally I'm not really an orange person, but I think it goes pretty well with the colors. So I ended up not using that Madeline Tosh yarn at all, and I think I'm gonna knit a completely different sweater out of it. But yeah, now I have these colors. So this is my swatch, and this I'm using a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle and US 6 4.0 millimeter needles for the body and all the color work. And I actually knit my swatch in the round after seeing some like colorwork tutorials or colorwork swatch tutorials where they suggested to knit in the round rather than still when you do your gauge swatch, you want to try and mimic how you're going to knit the actual garment, and because the sweater is in the round, you can do the gauge swatch in the round 2 different ways. So one way is to knit straight across and then carry the yarn all the way back to the beginning. And then when you wash your swatch, you're supposed to cut those carries or those floats kind of, cut them, and then you can block your swatch. But I didn't want to potentially lose that yarn in case I'm playing some yarn chicken. So I knit the swatch in the round completely, where I made like a little tube and like a mini cowl almost. So it's a full swatch. I think some people also like to maybe knit like a hat as their gauge swatch, so that's also an option. Maybe not for color work if you're gonna, especially if it doesn't really match up with what you might want to put on a hat. I don't know. But for like plain stockinette stitch, you could do a hat, and then you have your gauge swatch, and then you also have a hat. Anyway, so this is the gauge swatch, and then I've been doing a lot of knitting on the actual sweater, and I've made quite a bit of progress, and it's currently inside out because I realized, I think when I was watching one of the podcasts, a Stranded Dyeworks podcast, that if you knit your color work inside out, then I think that gives you some extra room with your floats. They don't get pulled too tight, although because of how big of a sweater this is, it's not really making too much of a difference, I think, but I had tried it just to see, and I actually had knit this part of the color work which is currently inside out, I knit this right side out. And so we'll see how that differs. I don't think it differs that much, but let me flip this inside out or right side out. So I've already separated for the sleeves. It's a top-down sweater, and I separated for the sleeves a little bit earlier than what the pattern calls for. I tried it on after this set of increases, and I thought it would be a little bit too early still to separate for the sleeves. The way the pattern calls for it, it's kind of poncho-like almost, and I didn't know that I wanted that much room, I guess, in between the armhole. So, and then I think also, you know, if you lift up your hands or your arms, then your sweater comes up when the sleeves are that low. So I had tried it on here initially, and I thought it was still a little bit too high, that maybe the armholes wouldn't be big enough or just the shape wouldn't look quite right. So I did another pattern repeat, at least for the first chart, and then I separated for the sleeves there because I thought, okay, now we're getting pretty long. So I think it's kind of hard to tell, but I think it's a good length now. It's still got kind of that looser poncho-like quality to it, I guess, or shape to it, but it's not too bad. I think just the way it would fit me too would just look a little bit better with the arms that are a little bit higher up. So yeah, but it's meant to be kind of this oversized sweater that will be quite cozy, especially as you can see, or as you might have seen earlier, with all the floats, it's going to be quite thick in some spots. So I'm really liking this pattern a lot though, and I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that I will get it done at some time either before Thanksgiving or before Christmas, and then I can wear it when it's nice and cold, and then I can stay nice and cozy. And this is living in a Nerdbird Makery bag, and it's got, you know, quite enough room for a sweater, although once this starts getting bigger, it's going to be spilling out of the top. And I've only been winding up one skein of the main color yarn as I go. So, and I'm also, so normally with hand-dyed yarn, I would alternate skeins. But because of the colorwork pattern, I'll just show this one because the swatch is a lot easier to show. Because of the colorwork pattern, it's pretty hard to tell where, or at least I'm hoping it'll be hard to tell like the transitions. And I think because the skeins are all from the same dye lot, even though they're hand dyed, I think that plus the color work makes it so it won't look as abrupt when you change yarns or change skeins, as opposed to this sweater where I did alternate throughout the whole thing so that it wouldn't you wouldn't be able to see the color differences between each skein. So hopefully that won't be a bad thing. But I think the color work, it should be okay. So last work in progress, I promise, is a sock that I started. This is just a plain toe-up sock. It is going to be for one of my friends who purchased the yarn during the Solano Sidewalk Affair, which was a replacement for the Solano Stroll in Berkeley/Albany, where all the shops on Solano are open and have some have like booths along the street, but then because of COVID this year, they did a sidewalk thing where they didn't close down the street. Anyway, so we went to, when we were walking along Solano, we went to my local yarn shop and picked out some yarn so I can make some socks. And I'm already to the heel on this. It's going super fast since it's just plain stockinette. I'm using a Fish Lips Kiss heel on this, and it's also out of US 1's 2.25mm needles. The yarn is Life in the Long Grass Fine Sock in the Truffle colorway. And yeah, these are going to be women's US size 10, I think. Hopefully. They seem to be fitting. And they're still my typical 64 stitches around. And yeah, hopefully they'll fit really nicely. And then these are living in another silver shed bag, a Doctor Who themed silver shed bag, which, oh my gosh, just remember there's a Doctor Who episode starting, the new season starts today. So hopefully we're recording that. I think we are. I think it's recording. If it hasn't already premiered. I need to watch it. I'm so excited now. I completely forgot. Yeah, it's the last, normally I didn't do a wibbly wobbly timey-wimey today, but if I did, because it's about Doctor Who, if you haven't watched this podcast before, then I would have mentioned that there's a new episode today, and it's also Jodie Whittaker's last season, but also apparently Russell T Davies is coming back to be the show lead. Can't remember the position title now. Showrunner. And Russell T Davies was the showrunner when David Tennant was a doctor, and Christopher Eccleston. So anyway, that's my mini wibbly wobbly timey wimey. But yeah, that's so exciting. New season. It's been so long since there's been a new season of Doctor Who, so it's nice to have something to look forward to. Pretty things. I have some new stash enhancements. I got a gift card to a Verb for keeping warm for my birthday, and that's a yarn shop in Oakland on San Pablo. And I picked up a couple of skeins of Spin Cycle. What is it called? Oh, Dyed in the Wool. And we have Small Wonder, which I believe is their shop exclusive colorway, and then Summer Love. And I thought these went really nicely together. And I may or may not actually might make another cowl with this. I don't know. Or I might pair it with a third Dyed in the Wool to make, I think it's the Night Shift cowl, the smaller version. Not sure what to make with this yet, but I picked that up. I also picked up a Sashiko Sampler. I have not done Sashiko before. I have done cross stitch and some minor embroidery. But the sampler, it just comes with the marked fabric and I think some instructions, but no thread, I believe, unless it's hiding in here. So I'm not sure what thread I'm going to use yet for this. I'm trying not to crinkle it. But I'm excited to try this out. So it will be nice to do some embroidery that doesn't require an embroidery hoop, which is something I learned about Sashiko. So yeah, excited for this. So another stash enhancement is some skeins. This is Knit Bro socks in some one-of-a-kind colorways. They are called Aftermath colorways, and I think from what I read on his website or Instagram, one or the other, is that they are basically the remains of the dye water and just used to dye the like one-of-a-kind colorways at the end of a dyeing session. So I saw a picture of these on his Instagram and I could not help it because they looked so pretty, especially together, but also separate. And so I picked up these skeins, and they are fingering weight, superwash merino nylon yarn. So they could be socks or they could be something else. I don't know yet, but they're so pretty. So this is the first yarn that I've gotten from Knit Bro, so I'm excited to try it out. I have some purchases from Gails Art, the last kind of like fiber related shop update. I think they are focusing more on like fine art now. So I grabbed some things from that update. First is a really pretty project bag, and it's nice and large too. So this is a I guess hand-dyed project bag. So I needed some plain undyed skeins of fingering weight yarn to pair with a rainbow gradient set that I got to make a blanket, I guess. Because I didn't need it, but I wanted to get it. So that I could make that blanket. So I got 2 different types of yarn from Gails Art. So the first is this Shiny Happy, and it is blowing out the camera. And this is a Superwash Merino silk blend, so 50/50. And then the other one I got is this Wonder Sock, which is a BFL, 75% BFL and 25% nylon. So hopefully I'll be able to use one of these. I think if it's going to be a blanket, I think the silk will give it some nice drape. But the BFL will work fine too. So I don't know. And I also am not sure if there's going to be enough yarn to pair up with it yardage wise, but it would be about like baby blanket sized. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, so I got some undyed skeins. I've got some adorable, oh my gosh, I'm looking at them again and they're so cute. Some progress markers from the Gnome Knitter. So this is a progress keeper. It is a little succulent cupcake. And then we've got a little mochi, that's upside down. I can do it. This is so hard. A little mochi, like half-eaten mochi, green tea mochi, progress keeper. So they're so cute. I love them so much. And I can't wait to use them because they've been sitting in my, like, pretty things bag so that I would remember to talk about them. But yeah, they're so cute. So that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching if you made it all the way through. So social media stuff, I am Eliana Knits on Ravelry, if that's accessible for you. I'm Unperfect529 on Twitter, Instagram, etc. Probably on TikTok too, although I just follow people on TikTok. I don't post anything. Although I was thinking about posting like fiber related stuff. I don't know. I feel old when I look at TikTok. So, but I think it would be kind of fun to see more like knitting and fiber related stuff on there. I need to get my algorithm to show me more stuff. So if you have any TikTok recommendations of like fiber artists to watch or to follow, let me know. And I think I follow Shelly Can right now is like the only fiber person. Yeah, I haven't really done that much research into who I follow on Instagram that also has a TikTok. So anyway, that's social media stuff. Again, show notes are below if you're watching on YouTube or at knitsandstuffpodcast.com. I haven't really been posting to the Ravelry group as much for updates, I think because it's less accessible for people now. And it's also not really, I think, something that has been needed as much for the podcast. So I don't know that I'm going to continue posting updates there. And maybe focus a little bit more on the YouTube side. So I think if, most people will leave comments on the YouTube episode anyway. So rather than having a separate show thread in the Ravelry group, just have it on YouTube. I also am not sure how many people watch the video podcast on like a podcast feed instead of YouTube, because I don't have a way to track that the way that I'm uploading it to iTunes or to Apple Podcasts. Don't know what they're called now. So yeah, basically I think just I might kind of let the group just sit there in Ravelry and not do too much with it. But yeah, we'll see if I I've got to think about it more. Maybe with the new year, I'll have some new ideas on what to do with the Ravelry group or the channel, YouTube channel, maybe a TikTok. I don't know. Okay, so anyway, long enough episode. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Hopefully there won't be as long of a gap, but it might be a little bit slower during the holidays. So now that it's coming up, but yeah. Hopefully I'll see you all soon, and happy knitting, happy crafting, and happy Halloween. Bye.